and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Lumberjack Barbecue. Today, we're going to go back to some ribs. I know I have 3 videos out there, at least 3 I would say, that different incarnations. Recently I met some friends on a hike and they wondered about the barbecue and of course gave me pointers on hiking videos and notwithstanding incorporating the food. Today, no hiking. Today we're getting ready for Independence Day and I bought these ribs at Aldi at $2.19 a pound, which is a very good price. I always buy them $3 and under and then freeze them. So this is the spare ribs. So you got the rib part itself and then over here some tendons and ligaments and whatnot. I can't remember offhand what this portion is called. There is a term for it. It's not as desirable, but it is very good stuff in there. What I have out here is all the things you're going to need. Any kind of barbecue sauce, that's what we have. I have some apple cider vinegar and water in here, that's for spritzing the ribs. I have 3 different rubs. I like to layer the flavors. We have a can of ginger ale. That's going to be in the middle of this cook. We'll go over that. Definitely some butter, because we're going to be wrapping aluminum foil and putting these 2 in. This is called officially, from what I've seen, the 3-2-1 method or the Texas cheat method. Basically, you're steaming your ribs for the middle 2 hours. 3 hours on smoke, 2 hours in the foil, and 1 hour barbecue sauce, flip barbecue sauce. Why do we have a knife? Butter knife, that is because on the back side of these ribs is this membrane. And we got to take that off, otherwise any of our seasonings or barbecue sauce won't penetrate the meat. Now there's not a ton of meat on here, but still it's always worked out for me. Some people will score it, cross hatch it with a sharp knife, that way it can get through. I've never liked that, and then guess what, that stuff's tough and chewy once you get done with it. So we're not doing that today. But the first thing you got to do before you do anything at all is get your fire going. So let's go out and do that. Okay, so you're outside and you're ready to light your charcoal. Do not use lighter fluid. If you do, let it go for quite some time until it all dissipates and gets burned off. There's an easier way. It doesn't cost much. You can get it at Walmart or other places, Home Depot. It's called charcoal chimney. Very inexpensive. So you got a larger area up top, smaller area on the bottom. This is where your newspaper goes. Well, or your sales flyer. I just use the bag the charcoal comes in, and that way I'm not wasting the bag. Crumple it up. Like so. Good enough. Flip it over. Now you put your charcoal in. Now I have some more for the next fire. And I'm going to top that off. For ribs, I try to fill the thing up. I know within 3 hours I'm probably going to want to put some more on. You don't want to have charcoal not lit and put it on top of the lit ones, because these things have binders in them, and I'm always afraid that somehow those binders aren't good for you. So in 3 hours what I'm going to do is I'm going to be wrapping the ribs. We'll show you that. And then I'll put some new charcoal over the old stuff, and that way, because of the aluminum foil, less of a chance for us to have an issue. I may be wrong on that, but they have to compress them and do something with them to make them be like that. If you have lump charcoal, which it looks just like wood, but it's charcoal, then you don't have to worry about it. About there, good. Get yourself some kind of ignition device. Light the paper. The wind ain't gonna cooperate. Yep, of course. Let me see if I can do it down in here.
on, wind. No, hopefully that does it. I got a portion of it lit. I'm just gonna hold it up. That way it gets the air and lights the rest of it. This is an old, it's called a weather smoky mount. It's no good anymore, but it's good for this. It keeps the ashes and stuff from flying out. I leave the door open here. When I say ashes flying out, it's not like it's just out on its own, but you can put it up on top of your grill. Actually take the top grate off, put it down in there, and leave the lid off. Though I've noticed that when you leave the lid on, even though you have the vents wide open, it takes forever. It sometimes goes out. Then we'll take an old trash can lid. I used to scrap, so I have a lot of stuff around. Put that on there, make sure that's open, and now it gets flowing through. I don't recommend putting it on your porch. Because that's probably not what I should do, but it's going to rain later today, so that's why it's on the porch. I have drywall down underneath, a piece of drywall back here because this gets a little close, and I don't just walk away from it. I come up periodically and check on it. So it's a Weber 22-inch kettle. Had it for probably 13 years. You can notice there's a hole in here. We're going to put one of these in today. It's a temperature gauge. Just got it at Home Depot. Universal. Fits right in that hole. You tighten that nut. I'll show you that. It'll be quick. And this isn't a foolproof, hey, 100%. This gives you the exact temperature. Just get you around. You know around where you are. We're going to, when we go to cook these, we're going to have this about halfway open. Oh, and another thing, you can tell how old your grill is by looking up that right there, AU. They have a thing online where you can look them up. Different letters correspond with different years. There's your top grate. I have one of these flip grates, which is nice for putting smoking wood in, which is what we're going to use today. We're going to use cherry. And then in here you might see some bricks. No, I'm not building a wall. This is where my charcoal goes. This is the direct side, which we're not going to do when we do ribs. This is my indirect side over here. So the charcoal will go up in here once it's heated up and lit up, and then the ribs will go on the top rack over here. Some people put a water pan in. I used to. I don't anymore. I use my spritz bottle. It seems to do just fine, especially when we steam the ribs in the aluminum foil. There are, there's bottom vents. And you can look through the top here. There's a handle underneath, but I'm going to spin it and I'm going to open it like that. If it's a hotter day, I might close it a little more. If it's a colder day, I might open it a little more, get more draft in there in order to get more heat. I have made ribs in the winter. It works, but it takes forever. There is another way to set up your charcoal. It's called I think it's called the minion method, or the snake. You set it in here unlit. You take a small portion of coals, put them in the chimney starter, lay them on top of the unlit ones, and it slowly works its way around. We're not going to do that because I don't like the idea of those binders like before. So that's pretty much it. We got to wait for the charcoal to be ready. We can go on inside and get our ribs prepared. So as you can see, we have the ribs out of the package. Didn't think I had to show you that. I don't want to forget. I want to show you what this is for. You saw it laying out earlier. We're going to show you as soon as I get done here. We'll go back outside because of the condition that's on my grill lid that can easily be taken care of by a piece of garbage aluminum foil that maybe got burned up or this or that or whatever. Very easy to do. So you take your ribs out. They're usually a little moist. I'm not an advocate for completely drying them, but I don't want it to be all sloppy. Some people will take mustard and put mustard on the ribs, slather it all around. The claim is that it makes the rub stick. I don't do that. So you got a lot of this fat and extra crap on here. Kitchen shears, sharp knife, whatever. Get rid of stuff you don't think you want to eat. Look at how big that claw is. We don't need that. It's good to have fat on here, but we don't need that much. And I'll leave that. That's fine. This. Get rid of that. Doesn't mean I have to get rid of all of it. Get rid of the top layer. The stuff that really wants to come off. See how that? That's what you want to get off of there. The stuff that wants to come off. Look at that. Would you look at that? Just look at it. And sometimes you might have to use a knife to get underneath of it. Look at this. I'm able to pull that away. To me, that wants to come off. I'm not taking it all. Just what wants to come off. This I'm not so concerned about. If it wants to come off though, it comes off. Now we go to the back side, or the front side, whatever, you know, the presentation side. Just trim them up, make them look nice, how you like it. This is not very thick at all. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. Alright, now then, insert paper towels. Let's dry it off again on this side. Now, you can tell when I flip this over that the pan has some moisture on it. I'm not going to get excited about that as long as it's not there's sop in it. So, we mentioned about the membrane and this knife right here. What you need to do, what I do, is I'll get down in here somewhere or up here. I don't go right to the end. And I find the bone and I can feel it. It's right there. Take the knife, slide it under there. We're not trying to cut it. We're trying to just pry it. Some people use paper towels to rip at this, meaning rip it away from the bones, because it's slippery. For whatever reason, I seem to be able to do it without paper towels most of the time. There have been times I had to resort to that. Take it up as far as it'll go. If you don't get it all, something rips off, try to get it off. If you can't, don't get excited. As long as the majority, see I got a rip right there. As long as you're getting the majority of it. And that's going to be an issue, it looks like. So I might have to dig back down with my knife, get underneath that little portion, lift it up, get my finger under, and hopefully take it with it. And anytime I don't film, this goes real easy. Yeah, look at that. I haven't done that in a long time, but of course, that's the way that is. So now I'll come over here, underneath there, over top of that bone. Just trying to get right underneath like that. Pull up. There we go. There you go. You got the vast majority of it all. Now it's time for you to clean your hands and we'll get ready to rub. Okay, now you're prepared. You got your membrane removed. You removed the fat that you wanted to. A lot of this is going to render down with the heat. So don't get excited. Just get the majority. You know, this stuff that's loose. Take your rub. You can use any rub. You can just use one rub. You can make your own. It's easy. Look it online. You can find salt, pepper, garlic is a good one. So we're going to take this stuff, which is salt-free, garlic and herb seasoning, and we're going to lightly put a coating on there. You can see the herbs in there. And we're going to rub that in. That's why they call it a rub. Down in there, up in there. Next one we have here is just a Grill Mates, McCormick Grill Mates Applewood rub. This does have sugar in it, and so that can induce burning or whatever. But we're not going to be over direct heat, so I'm not worried about it. If I was putting this or some other item over direct heat, I wouldn't use anything that has sugar until you're almost done. Like when we put the barbecue sauce on, it's the last hour, it's not overheat. But anything that you decide to put sugar, anything with sugar, it shouldn't be in the middle of the cook. It always should be towards the end, and you better be watching. Rub that in. Now this is not the presentation side, but I still want to have some flavor on it. Some flavor. And then Famous Dave's. These two you can probably find in any store you go to around the country, I would imagine, if you walk into a Walmart. This one, I'm not so sure if it's all over the place. I think they had it down in Florida when we went to visit my mother. But I think he's out of Philadelphia, which I'm relatively close to. You may not be able to find this. It's not anything extra special. It's not like, oh man, it's Tom's Rub or whatever. It's just, it's around here. It's always worked for me. We've always liked it. Nobody's ever complained about it. And it's relatively cheap for what it is. Some of the other ones, big names or whatever, like Killer Hogs, they might be a little more expensive. But you get what you pay for, I guess. Alright, rub that in. Oop, got a little under here. Remember, this is a big slab of meat, so you need some flavor. Plus, this will create what they call in the barbecue world, the bark. And if I really wanted real bark, meaning almost looks like it's burnt, it's not burnt, but it's brown, don't put a ton on. But this is about what we do. Flip it over. Now you got your presentation side. So if you want to make this St. Louis style ribs, you would cut right about here and kind of square it off. And then you'd have St. Louis style. And you would get rid of all the tendons and whatever. And you can use this for stews, blah, blah, blah. But I don't feel like going through that. Oh, start off again with our no salt seasoning by McCormick. I like to take a little bit and rub it on the edges too. Rub it all around. Next is the other applewood. And by now, Mrs. Lumberjack might have edited it down so you don't have to see all of this. But for those of you who are new to it or whatever, hopefully this will be helpful for you. The rib seems like a daunting process compared to making a burger or some chicken or something like that. There is a lot of time involved, but once you get this process done and it's on the grill, you're just checking on it every hour, and that's it. Famous Dave's. There you are. Let them sit outside of the fridge. I wouldn't say necessarily get it up to room temperature. A lot of people say, oh, get it up to room temperature. Well, what if it's 90 degrees in your house? I don't know. I just let them sit out for a while. It is best, I found, to do this maybe the night before or a couple hours before, because then, like the meat, like I think because of some of the salts and some of the other ones, not that non-salt one, it draws out the moisture or something and kind of like makes it mushy on the top. A lot of times I'll re-season it just before I put it on if I do it way ahead of time. So, wash my hands, and then I want to show you what that aluminum foil is for, because I have a condition on my grill that needs to be thick. So notwithstanding we got to put that in yet, we'll show you that. But before we do that, we got to clean it. So my guess is it's creosote. I'm not sure, but it's flaking. I don't clean my grills real hard. Most grill masters don't. They don't clean them real hard. Oh gosh, it's yucky. No, it's not. It's hot in there. Nothing's yucky in there. If you leave your food in there overnight, yeah, it's gonna be yucky. But so I'll just take this piece of aluminum foil, bunch it up, and just go around and scrape that off. It's gonna make a lot of noise, so you probably won't be able to hear me. Now you've taken a piece of aluminum foil that you were going to throw away and you've used it a second time. I could use it again. I'll probably put it out in the shed first for that purpose. Yeah, that one there. Shake it off real good. And there we go. Now we have no loose flakes that are going to flop down on there. Okay? And then thermometer. Okay, so get your thermometer, take a look at it. Let's see, there's 50 and 100 and So I would say this thing's probably reading around 80. That's not perfect either, because this is one of them spring kind of dealios, and you can move it around, but that's pretty much what it is out here. If I base it on my car thermostat thermometer, it's as easy as it looks. Okay. Oh, maybe that's how you adjust it right there. I think that's how you adjust it if it was a little bit off. I was just looking earlier before I got on the camera to see how I could do that. That's probably how you adjust it, I would imagine. You know what? I'll be right back. Let me get something. So this is how you adjust it, using that with the tiniest screwdriver you can possibly find. I'm just joking. And you can move it around. But we said we were pretty good, so I'm gonna try to take it back to there. Let's see, 80, be right about there. So we'll call that good. You just have to be close. What do you do ribs at? 250 to 300. They're a little, they get done faster at 300, but might not get the same juicy quality. I've had them doing 300 and they're just fine, especially since you're using the aluminum foil. Take this, put that in there, aim it whichever way you want. I typically like to have it sideways like this so that when I'm in the backyard I can look out the window and see what the temperature is. If I have it over this way, it's hard for me to tell. So I put it like that. My hands just got all dirty, thank you. Work pants. That side goes in. It's hollow. This side isn't. Get your wrench. Doesn't have to be killer type, but you don't want it to be moving around on you. And there you go. Ready to go. Okay, so we'll check on the coals, and once they're ready, we can dump them in, show you what's going on there, and whew. Take a look in this thing as they come up. You notice that they're all ashed over on the top. They're not completely done. In the darkness, you can see some flames. So I am now, since I'm right-handed, going to go over here. Dump these down in here. Be careful, because you got little bits coming off. Alright. That down. This I'm going to put outside temporarily on the sidewalk. This is my charcoal tender. Move it around and all that. Probably wondered what that was in my hand. Okay. And that looks good. And the bricks keep the majority of heat over there. Obviously there's going to be heat that travels over. You want to get your grill on. You say, Lumberjack, your grill grates look horrible. Yeah, up until I clean them off. We're going to let it in here and get all this heat on it. And now I'm going to take my wire brush. Be careful. These things come off. I've never had it. And you can get them in your food. Just inspect as you're going along. They're not horrible. You could use aluminum foil too. I've done that when I didn't have one of these. Crumple it up like I did before. So we let it in here for a little bit, you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Let everything get settled. This lid on. Try to make sure it's tight. If it doesn't stay tight, which mine sometimes doesn't, I put a big, huge block of steel on it that I got scrapped, and that holds the lid down in its spot. But yeah, that's it. All right, welcome back. So what is our grill telling us? It's telling us that we're not even at 200 degrees. Now see, I'm finding that really unbelievable. So I'm not going to believe it. Oh wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm looking at Celsius. We're at 300 and like, what, 70 degrees, something like that. That's a little high. I could sit here and wait for an hour. I'm not going to. At the end of the cook, it's going to go down low 200s. I don't care. So here's the big piece of steel block that I was talking about to hold your lid down in case it pops up, doesn't fit exactly right. Take off your lid. And now we're going to scrape it. So this side's all really heated because there's the coals. So you move that around like that, give that a chance to heat up a little bit. Get this yolk off of here. And there we go. But then, and I don't always do this, but sometimes, it's been a while, so I'm going to take some olive oil off the deck. You can use olive oil, canola oil, just don't use motor oil. And just oil that up. So you have kind of a non-stick surface. And we can throw that in there. It's just oil. Who cares? We'll lift our grate up. That's that. Not lastly, but nextly, get some cherry wood here. A chunk or two. Some people pre-soak them in water. I've tried it. I don't find a difference. Sorry. Or maybe I'm just lazy. Take your ribs. You got your rib side over here. That's going to go away from the fire. This other side with the cartilage and the tendons, although there's good yummy meat in there, that's going to go towards it because I don't care as much about that. And that has a lot of fats and connective tissues, which will make it very tender and juicy even though it's closer to the fire. And that's it. 1 hour from now. We'll come out and take a look and spritz it down and see if we need any more smoking wood, blah, blah, blah. So, there you go. There's your start to your 3-2-1 method ribs, otherwise known as the Texas cheat. I hope you're enjoying it so far, and hopefully it'll help you feel a little more confident about it, because if I can do it, you surely can do it. All right, hour number 1 is complete. Take this off. And our lid, you can notice we're just a little over 300. Everything's starting to slow down now. And there they are after 1 hour, looking pretty good, but they're starting to dry out a little bit. But remember I was talking about the connective tissue and some of the fats, see how it pulls up here and there? They're doing just fine. Well, we just spritz a little bit. Again, this is vinegar and water. Looking really good after an hour, but it was pretty hot in here. It's going to slowly cool down, if you will. Then we take a look at our smoking wood. Maybe you want to turn it over. I'm going to leave that for now because that looks like we've still got plenty of smoke that'll come off of that. And other than that, close it up, wait for another hour. This is the easy part of it now because all you're doing is checking on it once in a while. And so put it all back together, and that's it. We'll see you in an hour. All right, hour number 2 is complete. Let's take a look. And now we are at 250. For me, that's optimal temperature. But that tells me once this hour is done, I'm probably gonna have to add charcoal like I mentioned before. Oh yeah. Getting some nice color on it. It's getting a little dark on the ends. I can't really do anything about that other than maybe move it back a little bit. I'm gonna leave it. That's gonna be all right. Very, very nice. Very little pullback on the bones. That's your indicator. By the time these are done, you're gonna see a lot of this meat pull back off the bone. Spritz it up with our vinegar and water. If you felt like you needed to, you would flip this around. I don't. This front edge doesn't look all burn up or anything. If anything, the back edge along the side here does. And notwithstanding, we can always check our smoke wood because it's the last hour of smoke. And I think we're going to add a chunk. Maybe 2 if they're smaller. I think I'm going to try to find some small ones so I'm not always using big. There we go. Place them in there indiscriminately as you would like. And that's it for hour number 2. Now we're going into our 3rd hour. and soon after this we'll be wrapping them. And let me tell you something about the 2-hour period. And I did this a couple weeks ago for Father's Day. Once this period came, wrapped them, put them on here. Junior was still in the house so he could check on things, and we went out for a hike. So at that 2 hour point, or I'm sorry, 3 hours in, and then you got 2 hours to kill, go for a hike. We might even do it today if it doesn't rain. So, all right. Well, we'll bring you back when we're wrapping them up. Hour number 3 is ended of your 3-2-1 method. So now we will again remove the lid, and there's what we're looking at. That is what they call bark, and it looks very nice. You are starting to see more pulling back of the meat from the bones. So we're going to do the 2 hour part of this, which is to put it in aluminum foil with that ginger ale and butter. Take them out. I always turn them upside down. Hopefully I didn't wreck the foil there. Sometimes when you use your tongs you can put a hole in that. When we come back out we'll address the charcoal there. I didn't catch the temperature, but I'm sure it's around 200 probably. And yeah, so we'll go back in and we'll show you what's going on here. We're now inside. So take your pop, if you're from the Midwest, whatever it is. You could use beer, you could use water, you can use apple juice, whatever you'd like. I seem to prefer some kind of soda. People use Dr. Pepper. I heard of them using Coke, you know, anything. Cherry cola might be a good thing. And then we will add our pats of butter. It was about a half a stick. Just place them over top. It doesn't really matter where they go. Just all gonna melt in. Now you can see, because of how big these ribs are, it's not gonna fold over completely. It's gonna get close, but that's not close enough. If you had baby back ribs, I could use this one sheet and be good. So now I have to grab the second sheet that I already had out. And I'm gonna, because it's a little bit big, I'm gonna fold over the edges. And then maybe the end, just a little bit. Place that over top. You want to not press real hard on your ribs because you might poke a hole in the aluminum foil. If you do, don't get excited. A lot of the juice still stays in there. The basic thing is that you're using this aluminum foil to steam the ribs. And you can do all this in the stove if you wanted to. You could absolutely do every part of this in the stove. You just won't have the smoke flavor. That's all. You don't want to press real hard, but you want to make sure that it's down. And see, I got a drip. It's coming out somewhere. Oh well, that's why I put it in the pan so I don't leak it all over the counter or whatever. And now we'll go back out and put them on the grill. So we're back out of our grill. Next thing we want to do is check our charcoal. What we got going on here. And also any of this ash, if that can go down, that creates more space for air to get up. Alright. Looks pretty good. We are going to want to add some charcoal to this. Not a terrible amount. Terrible amount. Not a lot. Oops. Should have left my gloves on because now my hands can be all black. 17, maybe 18. So what happens here is that it takes a while for that stuff to light. So you're going to see a little downturn in your cooking temperature. That's all right. Within an hour, maybe even less, it'll start blazing again. After this, if I want to add some more heat, I just throw a couple pieces of that wood on there because that'll ignite right away. So, little tip for you. All right, so now, as carefully as we can, I'm gonna put these ribs back on the grill grate. Put your lid back on. And 2 hours. Now go hiking. Or in my case, I don't think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get out and watch some of your videos. Alrighty. 5 hours has gone by. You had your 3 hours in smoke, spraying them, 2 hours in foil with the soda and the butter. It's time to reveal. I did look at these about a half an hour ago and I didn't think they were ready yet. Sometimes they go a little early. Alright. So we will take them off and put them on that pan right here. That way if there's any juices that drip out, we're good to go. And there's what we got. And you can definitely see there's pullback on the bones. If I go like this, it wants to move out. So we're definitely there. Now you could have fall off the bone or pull off the bone. Either one is good. When these come off after another hour, they're going to be just fine. So we're going to take this side, put this side up, and then put our barbecue sauce on. Go a half an hour and come back out in a half an hour, flip it over and barbecue sauce again. The only thing is, can I get it over there without it falling apart? Because sometimes that happens. Oh, and I got these gloves here that make this a lot better. They don't keep you really away from the heat like a ton, but it's better than the gloves that are made of the cloth there. But yeah, they work very good though. And if you were like gonna do pulled pork or something like that, they work well for that too. We'll take those juices, let them cool down, and we'll dump them down in the trash. Now we'll get our, in our case, Sweet Baby Ray's. You can use anything you like. Squirt it on here quite liberally. And then we'll use our brush and just move it around. You can, and I've done this before, if it's a little bit too thick, get a little bit of that juice. That'll help move it around a little bit more. And they're looking really good. I don't know if they're the best ones, but I never had any complaints. So, in fact, my father-in-law, I remember taking ribs from somebody else, somebody that actually makes you pay for them, and he said they weren't better than mine. But of course, he's partial. He's my father-in-law. All right, so that's a half an hour, and we'll come back out, do the same thing. Soon time. Okay, here we are. You've made it 5.5 hours. You were very diligent. So I will show you that our temperature gauge is reading about 170. I'm not super happy with that. I probably could have put something on there to keep it going. We're at the end here. I'm not concerned about it too much. There's enough heat to do what it needs to do with the sauce to tack it up. So let's take a look. Oh yeah. It's definitely tacked up on it. So now we'll just flip it over, repeat the same thing as last time. Hopefully they don't fall apart again, and they don't feel like they're going to. And because the heat's so low, I don't mind if it's a little closer to the coals now. And these gloves, I have to say, are a pain to get off. And now I ruined some of my bark there by using the gloves, but whatever, we don't care. I mean, we're gonna eat this. We're not, like, this isn't artwork, to me at least. And the sauce will cover it up. There you go. Definitely some nice pullback too. Look at how that bone must have moved. Believe me, that's going to eat just fine. You know, I like to get it on the bones too. I don't know why. I just think that you're going to eat this off the bone. If you're eating this with a knife and fork, I might not be able to be your friend. No, I can. All right. Now, not something that obviously you're never going to do this while you're out on the trail because it just takes too much time, obviously. But you got a couple days off and there's a holiday coming up. Is there a better way to treat your family and friends than to have some ribs? I don't think so. We'll see you in a half an hour. All right. You've now made it 6 hours. The reality is every time I open the lid, I add 5 minutes. So you're probably about 6.5 hours. Plus the rest time now. That's what's coming up next. Oh yeah. That looks great. Looks awesome. So now all we have to do is, oh look, a remnant. A remnant. Take them inside. Thank you, Mrs. Lumberjack.
You're welcome.
With your countertops, you want to make sure you have something underneath of there. And now you need to tin it. How long do I rest it? 10, 15 minutes. That's different than steak, I think. I don't think you have to leave it resting forever or anything like that. So I just take another cookie sheet, put that over top. They say to loosely tent it, meaning that if you put aluminum foil over it, you don't want to wrap it up and make it airtight. Leave some room for condensation or whatever to come out, so it's not all watery, I guess, is what my estimation is, what they're talking about. So 10 or 15 minutes from now, we'll get to slicing. You noticed I put a cutting board underneath there because I don't want to cut into the pan with my good knife, my good German knife made in China. And yeah, soon we'll have Lumberjack Jr. come out with a very unbiased opinion, because he pretty much tells the truth. And if it's not this or that, he'll tell you. So we'll see what's happening then. I'm not ready to eat dinner. I usually eat dinner later, just before I go to bed, because if I eat now, I'll still eat before I go to bed, and Lumberjack will get bigger. So we'll let Junior check it out. We're gonna have some baked beans with this too, and we'll see you then. There they are. Very nice color. I guess you would call that a mahogany. Not sure. We're gonna flip it over because it's a little bit easier for me to slice when I can see where the bones are gone. So I'm just gonna try to go right down here in the middle, and then pick one out for Lumberjack Jr. so that he can taste test it. I guess it'll be this one.
Oh yeah, that cuts perfectly. Nice and tender.
Oh, don't be going on the bone there, Lumberjack. And it's not a real deep smoke ring. You see some color right here. Usually I get it all the way around. Might not be as much smoky flavor, but we'll see what Lumberjack Jr. thinks. And there you go. Give us an honest opinion of what you got there, kiddo.
Oh baby. Always love ribs too. Let's see. It's right here. Taste is good. Not as tender as usual ribs.
I think so too. I agree.
Gotcha.
I didn't even taste it. I can kind of tell from looking at it.
Overall, the texture and taste is very good
Awesome.
as well. And barbecue sauce put on perfectly.
Oh, thank
Very
you.
good. You got it. Always loves smoky goodness, smoky ribs. That's
Oh
for sure.
yeah, Smoky Goodness and Smoky Ribs. Those are the two channels you should check out. Very, very good at what they do. Notwithstanding, if this is something you enjoy watching and something you would like to learn more about or just be entertained, please come back and visit us here at LumberjackPA. Notwithstanding, thumbs up would be great. A little subscribe, maybe a comment or two. Tell me what you would do differently. And check us out next time here on Lumberjack Barbecue.
Peace and happy Independence Day.